Hello and welcome to this special episode of the India Leadership Council. Today we're talking about the importance of business value and sustenance. It's really important to see over the years how the term of business value has changed. But how are businesses evolving? How are consumers evolving? And how are businesses adapting and staying ahead so that they can provide the best services and products to the consumers? I have a panel of experts here with me today to talk more about this. Allow me to introduce them. First up, we have Colonel Chandhoke. He's the Managing Director at Victorinox. Himanshu Jain, he's the President APAC with Diversey. Mr. Mariwala, the Chairman at Marico. Gautam Khanna, the Chief Executive Officer at PD Hinduja Hospital. Colonel, let's start off with you. The term business value, how, in your opinion, has it changed, and what is the new way ahead that businesses need to keep in mind for this?
Businesses no longer think of profits, which has traditionally been. That is a big change, and increasingly there is more and more value associated with the people and the planet. Terms like the triple bottom line are taking more significance. And more organizations are looking at the overall cost of operations, which is not just financial, but also their changes to the society and the impact to people that they make.
Mr. Mariwala, I want to get you in on this part, the people aspect. And it's no longer just about being a B2C, but people as in the all stakeholders. Your thoughts on the importance and how should businesses incorporate this angle in?
So I think I'll just carry on from what Chandhoke was saying, that the business of business is just not business. It is more than that, you know. And in the earlier days, the business existed only for the owners or the shareholders. And today, I think the research has proven that increasingly now when you look at all the stakeholders in a business, so whether it is your consumers or whether it is your employees or your associates with whom you work or the society, I think you have a duty and responsibility to add value to each stakeholder. And when you do that, I think the overall effect, because all of them are connected. If I do something well for my employees in terms of providing them better culture, better working conditions, they feel far more motivated. If they feel more motivated, it will reflect on the organization's performance. So all of them are interrelated, and I think that's the key thing, that you cannot have any weak link in these interrelationships.
But Himanshu, I'll come to a different perspective. So we're looking at not purely profit. So somebody might say, well, okay, great, you're doing a great business, it's a lovely place to work at, but where's the money, honey?
You know, let me say it this way, that Mr. Mariwala just mentioned that the business has evolved. And I truly believe that all decisions are end of the day economic decisions, including a friendship, where you go to a friend where you enjoy more, and you don't go to a friend whose company you don't enjoy enough. What has happened is business has learned and evolved over time to realize that if we do not take care of all the stakeholders, we cannot sustain ourselves and our life will be shortened, number one. Our prosperity depends on understanding the social setting in which we operate, and it has to be in harmony with the society. That's the maturity of the business. You would still find businesses operating in pockets, looking only at profit. But that number is slowly reducing. And I would call it's a very wise move for the business to go on a trajectory to learn the total value creation and not just the money value creation. And that's about, if I may use the word, it's a maturity of a business thought, which is showing in the money.
Gautam, coming to you from a perspective of a hospital, because for you it becomes even more tougher or even more important, because as a hospital, people are not looking at you just as a business. They're looking, of course, to you as a caregiver, as someone who's taking care of society as a whole. Your experience, your thoughts on managing this mix?
One of the things I would like to say for the healthcare sector, yes, it is a business that, there are organizations which exist to make money, but there is a little difference that here the stakeholder management, the compassion, the empathy is more important than anything else, because if you don't have empathy and compassion, the reason why you exist in the society is not there. So that also translates to empathy, compassion towards your own people, towards the patients, towards your vendors, towards your community, and towards all the people whom you can influence. I would say the more businesses grow, they move from being a capitalist mindset to being a capitalist with a heart, if I can say that. And that, I think, is now more visible in our society and more so in hospitals, because unless you have the heart, you cannot serve the society.
Just like to add here, what is very important here is organizations realizing a fact that businesses are part of society. They are a subset of the society. They are run by people, and in simple words, as it could be said, people are the society. So businesses are a subset of society actually, and not the other way.
Mr. Mariwala, we've spoken about the businesses. Now let's come to the other side, to the customers, who the businesses are for. The customer is king, obviously, but the customer is also evolving. And now it's becoming diversified. So there'll be pockets of customers who would want one thing, and there are fads, there are trends. It's a constant moving organism, as to say. Managing that and, just being able to read those signs which are not evident. How do you advise on that?
So I think customer evolves, and the evolution takes place on various parameters. One is depending on the economic growth. So if you just take an example of say body cleaning products. Earlier there was no soap. People used to use Arita, then soap came. And then as the society progressed and the economic growth happened, the whole soap category has now got segmented into face wash, body wash, shampoos. So in any category you will see that the customer evolves as growth takes place and segmentation happens. The key thing is to identify the consumer needs and consumer insights. What is the consumer looking out for, and can you actually innovate? Can you pioneer that segment so that you are encashing on the opportunity? I think that's one journey. Another is the millennial customer, which has a very, very different way of looking at things. So the millennial customer has very strong beliefs. So the whole millennial customer's behavior is very, very different, and these are trends which are global trends. They start maybe somewhere in the West, but it's a matter of time they come and cover the whole world. So I think the key thing is to see these kind of trends which are happening.
Colonel Chandhoke, coming to your products, the outdoor tourism in India is growing. It's growing fast. People are loving to go camping, hiking, trekking, and I feel it's a good thing. We're getting out of our four doors of the four walls and heading up. But it's important for a business to be able to provide for this. So while a business can be global, the localization angle is also important. With Victorinox, how are you approaching and looking at this, your customers here in India?
Very interesting question, because when you talk to the production team of a 135-year-old European company, then it's not easy to talk about customization. Yes. But the good thing is we have made our presence felt strongly in the world. We are 1/6 of the world sitting in one country. For us at Victorinox, our flagship product remains the pocket knife, the Swiss Army knife. Right. And we have cutlery, the watches, the travel gear. We are open to, as a brand, as a principle, we are open to customizing products to an extent that they don't compromise on the basic product principles. Big market, customization is what we are happy to provide. Something very close to my heart, a very interesting change we did is we made a special pocket knife for the Indian Navy. Oh, this was the toughest, because having the knife team go back and change designs for a particular market, making 150,000 knives every single day. We are very happy, and a proud moment for the India team where we got a special knife made for the Indian Navy. We are working very closely with the Indian Navy to make it a part of the standard kit. So yes, it's a continuous process, but as a brand we are open to embracing what the market needs.
Himanshu, I'm coming to you from another angle now. I'm going to talk to you about the pure sustenance, sustainability. I specifically want to talk to you about one product of yours, Flush Me Not, which is a waterless urinal. Now, the importance of these kind of products, the innovation that goes behind that, how do you guide businesses to do that? Because, I mean, you have to find these niches, you have to find these nuances in every business.
Exactly.
How do you guide them?
Exactly. So, cleaning is a very mundane job. So, we are constantly looking at how the industry does its routine things. And we follow the principle that our job is to reimagine and rethink how the industry operates and what can we change there to bring efficiency. And Flush Me Not is one such example. I remember in 2012 World Economic Summit, which Economic Forum organized summit in Mumbai, and it was famously said that, and I heard this first time, that the Third World War will be around water. But nobody bothered. Then came a couple of years later a situation, a few hotels in Mumbai were asked to shut down or operate at half the capacity because shortage of water. And the picture changed. And we all know India has the lowest level of fresh water for the kind of population we have in the world, but we ignore it till it hits us.
Yeah.
And that's my observation about what starts happening. Flush Me Not is in response to that. If you look at it, a urinal uses about 12 to 15,000 liters per month for flushing in an average consumer kind of a setup. And you are talking of saving almost 2 lakh liters of water per year if you use it well. Waterless urinal was not a new concept in the country. And we studied that no, it doesn't work. Why? Because there's an enzyme block. And when a janitor who is not so well aware throws a normal detergent, it kills the enzyme block and it kills. So we had to come up with something new. Then we looked at our portfolio, looked to the team, and these were standard products available within us for use for different reasons. And now our solution is, I would call, idiot-proof. It works in any urinal without any additional cost to convert anything. There's no additional operational cost, it just saves you extra water.
That's the idea, Mr. Mariwala, is the getting this into the culture of the organization. So automatically it happens. So coming to you about how do you put in this sustainable, this environmental friendly, this green first thinking in the employees?
So I think it's very important, first of all, to create awareness. There is high degree of awareness amongst the millennials, but amongst the older employees, the awareness may be a little lesser. We need to educate people and talk about the benefits, and then some degree of self-discipline, you may call it, that okay, you don't waste any resources, this doesn't belong to you, it belongs to the Mother Earth. And then on top of that, I think you need reinforcements. Organization has to reinforce what they are doing. For example, waterless urinals, or at least in our conference room now we don't have any plastic bottles, we have glass bottles and water is filled into it. So these are different ways where you reinforce to your employees that it's important, and they see it in multiple times when they are part of the organization.
So one thing which we found cracked the code for us, that we are not talking only green. We are saying green and yet economically relevant. So unless you do both of these together, you do not find changes and conversions taking place. People are unwilling to spend 50% more for a green solution over a non-green solution.
So I just add on to this. So I agree with Mr. Mariwala that it has to be driven by the top. And what we found works is that in addition to saying what we need to do, we develop a program around it. So for example, we went on a program called Clean and Green Hospital and Clean and Green OT. So when you develop a program, you get people from all departments focused on it, and there are metrics to go on. Then suddenly everyone is now aware that we need to be a clean and green hospital. So when you are green, you talk about effluents, you talk about water, you talk about saving electricity, saving paper, and so on and on. So I think that is one very, very important aspect for the organizations to be on a sustainable path. And in my experience, if it is a one-off thing, it will not work. I mean, maybe it works for a year, but the trick is to make sure that you do it on a regular basis, annual awards, annual measurement, annual performance improvement, and goals based on these. So, and even hospitals like ours have taken the initiative. I mean, we've reduced, for example, close to 1.5 crore liters of water.
Wow.
Because of all the initiatives, we reduced 78,000 papers per month. So doing something like that. So those I think those initiatives have to be led as a program. So it's a combination of technology and of course efficiency improvement programs. But technology, for example, now you can use IT for almost everything. Yes. And now, I mean, for a simple thing, for example, you would stand in a queue to pay and you will get some receipt. Yeah. It's a paper. Right. Now if you do online, you don't get a paper receipt. Right. So that's an example. You get every reminders, your reports, your lab reports can be online, so you don't need to print it on paper.
Mr. Mariwala, now I'm coming to you from a total devil's advocate point of view. So this is lovely, things are being put into place, they're making difference. But this is just assuming that, everything goes on hunky-dory, everything goes well. But that's never the case. There's volatility in your market from everything, from anything and everything you never expected. How do you handle that, and how do you guide people to handle that?
See, I think first of all, there has to be a very strong belief that whatever you're doing in this area is good for the society. Number two, what he mentioned just now, that there is a payback. Right. In most cases, I've seen that there is payback. So if you realize that there is payback, then you have to do that irrespective of your business cycle. Yes. It is a part and part of your responsibility. You can't say my business is down, that's why I will cut some initiative, because anyway it pays back, Right. So there has to be very strong belief that it is paying back, and it definitely pays back, and that has to be practiced irrespective of how the business does.
Because it's a part of the economic value created through the green program. So the economic value and they are embedded with each other. So if you do it just for optics, there's a problem. If you do it with a core belief, it's a part of your organization.
And I think what Himanshu just said, in addition to this, what is important is the need to keep communicating with the employees and the organization that this is what we are doing. Because unless they understand the bigger picture, because they may not see the full picture, they see only what they are doing. You need to communicate what is the value it's bringing to the overall organization, to them as an employee segment, and to the society. It works.
Gautam, I'll start with you and we'll move down the line. Just closing comments, your final thought that you would like to leave the viewers with.
I would like the viewers to know that from my perspective from healthcare, that what we are seeing as a society, that unless society takes care of its own health through preventive health mechanism, health checks, and taking care of their health and more awareness, it will be a big loss to economy in the long term. So it's in all our interests to take care of health, and people and sustainability of the environment all go together. So that's what I'll leave it at.
Super. Mr. Mariwala, your closing.
So I would say the role of leadership in looking at all the stakeholders and adding value to all the stakeholders is very critical. And the leaders has to understand that all the stakeholders are interconnected, and whatever they do for improving that stakeholders' way of doing things, whether it's employee, key associates, or society, or customer, or shareholder, it will have a rippling effect on other stakeholders. So I think that belief has to be very strong.
Himanshu.
I truly believe sustainability or the green way or a lower impact on the Mother Earth is the way forward for business and life. And any business, any entity, any individual can ignore this thought only at its own peril. Only the businesses which are alive to this thought will survive and prosper, others will struggle.
I strongly believe, and I thank Mr. Mariwala for this comment, that the leadership plays and will continue to play a very strong role in influencing the country. A leader is a very strong influencer. Some very good work is happening in large corporates for the society, for people, for very good initiatives. We are all aware. But there is a very big brigade of the SME sector, which is majorly financial driven. And I use your platform today to make a request to the leaders of the SME segment in the country. There are 12 lakh companies registered with the ROC, and each has hundreds of employees, millions altogether working. I have a request to make to each leader of this SME segment today in India to influence people in your company. What if they missed school education of valuing the environment, respecting people, not taking what is doesn't belong to you, basic human values? There is a chance, dear fellow leaders of the country, there is a chance. influence the 100, the 150, the 200, the 300 people working with you, because you are in that fiduciary relationship to influence. And if after this process, each of your team member can become an influencer, this is a better place to, this is a better country to live in, a better world to live in.
Thank you. Fantastic. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming here and sharing your thoughts. Thank you so much for watching. We hope we've been able to provide you with some great insights. As you've heard, it's really important for the leaders to share the view, to let it percolate down, to think long term. Don't just focus on the economic value. Look at the green value. Look at the sustainable value. Do remember that change is the only constant. So be light-footed, be nimble, to keep adapting, to keep evolving. Thank you so much. You were watching this special episode on the India Leadership Council, and we hope it's been helpful. Stay tuned to the channel. Thank you so much.